Greetings, my weekends. Welcome to the Magic Hour podcast here on YouTube. On this show, we have Danny, Eli, and I am Kevin. And joining us once again is from behind the scenes. He's joining us from behind the scenes is our video guy, Alan. How you doing, everybody?
Good. Very good.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Very
Happy to be here again.
Beautiful, beautiful. Well, look, guys, for this, we are talking about the third episode of Loki, which was released on Disney Plus in the United States on Wednesday, June 23rd, 2021. So as usually, as we've been, the format that we've been using, we're going to give you a little bit of non-spoiler stuff, and then we'll jump right into the spoilers. So if we could, let's do a quick once around to express our opinions on this episode. We'll do a little rating, 1 to 10, like we have been doing. And of course, we'll let Eli take the helm and start this off, since he is our Marvel master. So Eli, what do you say, sir?
Same.
Yeah.
Yes. I would say, to quote an action movie line from Lethal Weapon 2, there's a lot of people watching you, baby, and you better not stink. And I would say that's kind of the feeling I had going into this one, because third episodes for these series, they just make me nervous. I think this one was not the strongest. It didn't kind of carry the same vibe. There was some elements of it that reminded me of other media forms. So it had an entertaining factor to it, but I felt like it was just kind of off kilter from what we had been used to seeing in the past 2 episodes.
So it was an extinct Canadian band from Epcot.
You know, if I have to put the rating on it, I give it a 7.5.
7.5. Okay, how about we throw in one other little detail? We have the first 3 episodes. How about we rank them? Where will we place this one as opposed to the other 2?
Oh, wow.
Higher, below, in between, or in front? So let's add that metric in there.
It's really tough to beat the first one.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I gave the second one a better rating than I gave the first one, just because the first one got lost in so much exposition, but I love the exposition of the first one. So I go 1, 2, 3. I think it's just the way they did it.
Just the way they did it. Okay, cool. And Eli?
It's tough. Really, really tough. I might.
You want us to come back to you? You want us to think about it?
I like the exposition and stuff, but I mean, the second one was a lot more artsy. And so, and I know we're getting to this one, so I'd have to say 2, 1, 3.
You know, and since you said it, I'm saying the same thing, 2, 1, 3. That's where I'm putting
I would echo that as well. So.
Cool. So let's continue going around. Danny, what do you think, sir?
Yeah, D, what you think?
Well, you kind of said it. You knew they couldn't keep up the pace they were on. You knew at some point in time the filler was coming. You were just hoping that when it came, it would make a little bit more sense than what it did. It wasn't that it was bad. It was just that it dragged a bit for me. Whereas the first one was all about world building, and the second one was kind of more about establishing the rules by which this world worked. And the third one was about character building. However, the manner in which they did it wasn't very convincing to me. It seemed a little forced, very contrived. The way they got them together, the things that they were talking about with one another. It's like y'all seem to have a lot more pressing things to concern yourself with talking about than what y'all are actually discussing. So those aspects of it I did not like. There were aspects I did like. What's the Inception style interrogation scene at the very beginning of the movie. I really enjoyed that. I liked how it kicked into it with the fight sequence leading towards the timekeeper. I thought everything with that was fun. Although I guess that's spoilers. I shouldn't say that. But I'll stop it there. And just
you like the first half.
There were elements. Well, not the first half. I would say the first 5 minutes or so I was invested. I was still invested, and there was still a bit of fun, and it was still kind of cool to see them kind of trying to out Loki one another. But there were certain elements of how they did it where the episode felt unimportant. It felt like it was just put there to give us an excuse to give these characters a relationship.
I'm with you.
Yeah, no, that makes totally sense, and I agree with that, absolutely. And I echo the same thing. When it first started, I was just like, all right, here we go. They basically picked up where the last episode left off. So you kind of got a little backstory of stuff that was happening, and we'll get into some details with that. But I thought, it was first 4 minutes. I'm like, yeah, all right, here we go. All right. And then it just kind of petered off a little bit for me.
Yeah.
You know, and then before you knew it, I blinked and it was done. And I was like, oh, okay. That's it. It just went, and then that was it. But yeah, I agree with the same thing. I was going to mention the same thing. That was it felt a little unimportant, not so much like a filler episode, but it was definitely the third out of the first 3 episodes for me in that third place. So anyway, Alan.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of echo what you guys are saying. To me, the writing for both this and Winter Soldier was like they were writing like as if a season was 13 episodes long rather than 6 episodes. You know, there's not a lot of real estate for storytelling, and when you feel like an episode of a 6-episode miniseries or series or season is wasted, a single episode, that's what, 20% of the season, 15% of the season. Like, I mean, it's not. That's a 85%. You know, you're already at a B with you whenever you miss just one episode.
That's too much math.
So,
Alan. That's
yeah,
too much math.
I'm sorry.
A lot of
So, but you know, there were some things that I liked about it. To not get into spoilers, the power dynamic, the difference in powers that they kind of started on last episode, and they really kind of expounded upon the different way that that Loki and Lady Loki, for keeping her name a secret, kind of the difference in the way that they interact with the world was very interesting. Not necessarily that one is better than the other, but they both think each other is kind of ridiculous in the way that they use their powers. So I think that was kind of the high point for me. And I agree with Danny. I think the way that that she uses her powers to manipulate the people around her, and the way that what she's discovered with those powers, to not get into spoilers, was very interesting as well.
Yeah, that's
Cool.
good.
Absolutely.
Anything else in the non-spoiler section, guys?
Whew. I think that's
Yeah, that's a good sum up. I
right.
mean,
So that probably sums it up, right? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Like I want to say things, but I
Cool,
feel like
guys. So
But you're gonna slip that line.
I
You
feel
know
yeah,
it.
that's exactly it. I think we're going to slip right into spoilers, and I already did it once, so I'm going to stop myself.
Yeah.
all right, so let's go ahead. Let's do that then, But before we dive into that, I must give you a spoiler warning. If you haven't watched the show yet and don't want anything ruined for you, make sure you hit pause on our video right now, save it so you can come back to it. And here we go. Yes.
Spoiler. Festive music.
All right, so how are we going to spoil this? Well, Sylvie and Loki do not make it off the planet. That's a hell of a way to spoil things, right?
Well, you should start off with saying that how they got to the planet, which is
Well, I wanted somewhere that was really shocking to really, if you didn't hit pause, and too bad. I'm sorry. Here's the spoiler. So I just threw it out there. I whipped it out. I slammed it on the table.
So
and now we can back up. Now we can back up.
put it back in your pants.
Back up
now.
and admire that thing you just slammed on the table.
Yes. We'll let it sit there and ferment, and we'll come back and visit it when we get to that part of the show.
Don't let nothing grow on it though.
That's right.
It's out too long. Get too
No,
much.
you gotta keep it clean. You gotta keep
Rolling
it.
stone gathers no moss.
That's it.
That's right.
Let's
That's
put on
right.
the table. Absolutely. I think that I agree with y'all in that it was a great, because the second episode had such a great ending where Loki goes in after Sylvie or the Enchantress or Lady Loki, whatever name you want to throw at her, and you're like, where's she gonna go? What's gonna happen? And then you get to see them fighting not the timekeepers per se, but they're the TVA. So I'm all like, yes. So I'm with you. That first half or that first, what is that? 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Yes.
I'm like, perfect start to the episode.
Yep.
Perfect.
It was great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when they transported off, like just before whatever Ravenclaw or one of those what's Slayer, so whatever Slayer, was about to strike them down. I thought they just like transported into like some kind of basement or whatever, but it ended up being like a Lamentus, a whole new planet.
That was broke.
threw you.
That whole thing was. I was like, come on, lady, fight the timekeepers. Like that was the.
Yeah, like
Where?
she was ready to go in there and like face down the timekeepers, and she got to the mid-level boss and it's like, you know what? we're just gonna teleport out. I don't know.
Yeah, it's like playing Candyland and getting that thing where you slide all the way back to the start. Like, no.
What are you doing? You have the coolest brand.
Yeah, they slid down to a planet even.
Yes.
Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy.
So
All right.
so that's one of my biggest problems was how contrived this episode was.
Okay.
Because every situation that they put them, I mean, the writing just seemed, I don't want to say poor, but it just seemed
Formulaic.
well, as clever as the first two episodes were,
Mm-hmm.
it seemed pretty thoughtless to be like, oh, we just ended up in the most apocalyptic planet we could, the worst place that we could be purely by accident because Loki didn't know where he was going and just happened to hit. And purely by accident, the thing's out of batteries. Oh, shoot. Now what do we do? Oh, well, we got to go find a power source. And
it can't be any power source, though. You're not going to plug it into a 9-volt.
which she made a point of saying that this is the worst place we could have got stuck on. Well, no, with a temp pad that does not recharge, I guess being on the Titanic, the Pompeii thing, any time in the past without power, that would have been a lot worse to be on with a broken or a batteryless temp pad.
Yes.
Then they get on their train. Now they're okay. Finally, we're on the way to the mission, and for no apparent reason, Loki decides to break into song, get them thrown off the train.
I'm a hedonist.
Yes.
Ha ha ha.
Oh my God.
What other bad luck? Oh, look, just so happened to break the temp pad in the process.
When he
like,
fell, yeah.
Yeah, it was just like one thing after another that it was just like one obstacle after another. They just kind of kept creating to keep these people in this situation.
It's like what's the opposite of a Deus Ex Machina?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, well, that was all broken. I think the one
Broken.
thing. I just put that together. I that was the thing. Was if they had to charge it, I didn't see how you could charge it.
Mhm.
And so if none of them had the science to say, oh man, it's running out of juice, we have to have something that's this small and this big. Because here was my question. This is my personal favorite part of the scene was when they went to that old lady's house that they were going to break in the door, but she had like that weird gravity gun or whatever. She was shooting them off of the steps. And I thought they were going to try to like get her and somehow hook up because it looked like her gun was attached to something.
Mhm.
I thought they were like, that's the source we need, but
yeah,
never did anything with that.
Nope.
And she was just like, yeah, you got to catch the train to death and all that craziness. And I was like, okay, this episode is not making any sense at all. Everything is just disjointed, but there's a cool effect with it being on the moon. I give him that.
Well, you know what, Eli? It wasn't the problem with that gun is it wasn't 1.21 gigawatts, so it wasn't enough power to power the temp pad and go back in time.
She just needed to throw a banana in the back of it. Then,
well, they're waiting for a lightning strike when the planet claim goes, so they had to string like a little line between that and the spaceship, and that's how they were going to do it. 85.
Well, when you consider how the second episode left off, and you're all like, man, they're dropping these reset charges all on the timeline. Different timelines are going to get screwed up. I can't wait to see what happens. And what happens? We end up on a fetch quest. That's the equivalent of looking for batteries for your remote control or looking for a charging brick for your iPhone. I need to recharge this.
Hurry!
I can't.
Hurry!
It just seems such a lame quest.
Yeah.
For them to be on. Like,
it was a lame quest to try to establish a relationship with them. I think that was the thing.
That was the whole point,
and that was it.
Yeah, it was just very forced. Like,
I mean, y'all got all the powers in the world. You can't charge anything. All the stuff you can do. You don't think they could have hypnotized somebody and say, "Hey, we got to charge this temp pad. Where can we go for this?" And then they take you. I mean, it was just that whole quest was just forced.
But I guess that's just the kind of dumb thing about this episode for me was they established at the beginning of the episode that Sylvie has the ability to pull memories, to pull information by possessing people. She didn't think to do that not one time. Like where she was able to find out where the timekeepers were by possessing somebody's mind, but you can't find somewhere to charge a battery with it, you know?
Yeah. The only time she did it, like that little trick that she did was when they were boarding the train and that guard was like, well, you can't get on here without a ticket. And she kind of touched his head. Next thing he's like, oh, I remember. Yeah, y'all called in earlier. And that's okay. Yeah, come on. No, it's okay. They can come on now. which there again, then Loki just blew that by for whatever reason, getting drunk and
Yeah, that scene in itself, that one particular scene, that really took me out of it. Number one,
yes.
that like I get it that they were kind of comparing, what would you say, lives,
Yes.
and I was like, all right, well, that's kind of cool. Like, what your mama did. Well, I never knew my mom, and like they comparing and contrasting, but then they still don't trust each other. But then once it got to the part where he drank too much, and then they flip it to where he
He got
starts talking
drunk.
about all that. Yeah, like he's talking about love is like a dagger and all that stuff, and that went completely nowhere. I mean, anybody knows love is like a business arrangement, not an invisible dagger. What the hell is he thinking? So that whole thing just kind of fell off. And then, as much as I like action, I love action. It was almost like they were just like, well, let's just have them fight everybody. And that felt like a weird G.I. Joe movie because everybody looked like Cobra, like soldiers. Like
Agreed.
Cobra, yeah.
Yeah, I
Commander.
didn't even think about that. That's really cool.
I made a note of that.
And they kept fighting them. And so, like, any rule of story knows when you fight the guy, you beat the guy. Like, okay, well, right, the guy is not as tough.
Yeah.
But if you keep fighting the same people
Mhm.
through the whole episode, like, your skills are not that impressive. Like, they're just not.
Well, and he's easily able to beat every single one of them until they just throw him off the train when it's necessary for them to be off the train. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
before I get into
Okay, just
beyond that, I just want to say
what?
the other thing that kind of ticked me off about that whole thing with love is like a dagger and everything like that.
Okay.
It's the conversation is just annoying as hell because there's so many pressing questions. Like, how did you become a variant? Where did those reset charges go? What do you have against the TVA? All they end up talking about is mothers, love, and bisexuality. That's the only, and magic. And that was the only
Magic, yes.
that they talked about. And it's like, is she from Asgard? Why do all the variant Lokis look different? Is just one timeline? Like, there's so many pressing questions.
Big questions.
What is your motivation? What is your backstory? What is any of this? Never asked any of that stuff.
No.
I was like, it was driving me nuts. It's like, this is not a normal conversation.
The other thing is, it would have been cool as a subplot.
Mhm.
I think this is, you're gonna agree with this, I'm sure. Well, I hope. But Owen Wilson and just the TVA in general, you don't get any of that as a subplot. Just say, where did they go? How do you
Right.
find them? And I think that would have helped it as well, because now you would have had the shift. You would have had them trying to still look for him. So that would have kept that continuing story going for the last episode, instead of them kind of forcing you to just watch these two characters together, and there's no break. There's no breather room. So I think that also reduces the tone or the theme that the past two episodes had.
Sure. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah. You miss Owen. Where was Owen?
I totally missed Owen this
There wasn't enough Owen. You're right.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it was no one.
and no
I think one of the good questions at the
No
episode.
situation.
I think one of the good episodes that the kind of offhanded conversation did raise was like that the variants, the TVA is staffed by variants. The timekeepers weren't, or not necessarily the timekeepers, but the people
They weren't made.
They weren't made by the timekeepers. Yeah. That was kind of offhanded, and if I remember correctly, Loki didn't really react too much to it.
No, he
but-
reacted. He was like, wait a minute, wait. They said this. But the thing of it is, Alan, Loki never even asked her. They were talking about magic. And there again, she was explaining how she did magic and how she infiltrated Hunter CB4. BB8,
Oh, yeah, C20.
her name,
Yeah.
Yeah, UB40, yeah.
Yeah.
How he infiltrated her mind.
Red mind.
And he took over the memories. And he was like, wait a minute. I was told that the people who work for the TVA were created by the TVA. Like, no, they're variants just like us. And it was like a big kind of thing. But there again, maybe ask her a little bit more about the TVA while you're there. Find out what her problem is with it. Find out why she wants to overthrow it. Why go through all this? What's the deal? He kind of stumbles across that information, which is important information. Probably going to end up being the most important information we get out of this show.
Mhm.
But at the same time, he wasn't even looking for it. It just he happened to stumble across it.
And it's just like such a 180 for the character, because remember, this is the Loki that literally like a week ago almost took over Earth.
Yes.
Right. This isn't the 3 films later post Ragnarok. I've reconciled with my brother and my family Loki. This is still the Loki that should be scheming, and if it, which I guess that isn't really, he didn't really have good judgment of that either, because he was working for Thanos, who ultimately killed him. Right.
Mhm.
So in the previous timeline, but you think if he was smart enough to almost take over the world, ask 2 or 3 more questions about who you're working for, or
Yeah.
ask 2 or 3 more questions relevant. Don't ask about their family. Try to understand how her powers work. Try to understand how she was able to almost best you in that store. Like, there are a lot of things that he's like silly for no reason.
Yeah.
And it really, really threw me off. I've made the joke a couple times about, oh, I'm hedonistic. Hi, it's in my nature, like, but not in a life or death situation, right? If you don't make it to that arc or whatever, you die. So
Yeah.
maybe don't get drunk.
Well, that's my theory about this. If I gotta go, and granted, I'm not saying that I have anything to go on except suspicion, which is that Loki has manipulated her mind in some way, and what we're seeing is not real. Like, I mean, the whole idea, like, remember, all of a sudden she's like, yeah, I can't fall asleep around people I don't trust on a train. Next thing you know, they pan away, you're on a train, and they pan back, and she's out cold at a table. She just falls asleep at a table. Loki's up there singing for no reason whatsoever.
As Guardian Shanties.
Right.
Yeah. Great song. Yeah, great
Officers
song.
come in. I mean, he's acting outrageously over the top drunk.
Doing Chuck Norris moves.
They conveniently throw him out of the train. He conveniently picks up a broken temp
Which
pad.
it could be.
He's manipulating her,
Yeah.
and this is not really happening. And you'll find out in the next episode or something. This is a guess. I hope I'm right. I doubt it, but just a guess that you find out in the next episode, none of that really happened, because it doesn't make sense that it would have happened in the first place.
Yeah, I mean that's a great theory, because look, it was weird how it ended, where they go through and they fight all the same people all over again to get to a rocket. It was like, how are you even gonna get to that? Like, you don't fly or nothing. And then like the what is it, the moon or whatever? When that scene was awesome. I always like the scenes when like the moon cracks and lands on Earth. Like
It looked like the Power Stone to me. Like if
like they were trapped in it.
No, like the like whenever Thanos blew up the Power Stone, blew up the moon on
Yes.
it looked just like that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I like that effect.
Oh.
When he cracked the moon, he was throwing it out. I mean, like that effect that they had going on there. That was cool. But I was kind of like, all right, they got to the point, the ship broke, and then like Loki was standing there, and then female Loki just turned and walked off, and then like boom, it ended. Like I kind of was like, wait, that was kind of abrupt.
Well, yeah, it ends kind of flat because we're only in the 3rd episode. We know they're not going to die.
Right.
We've got 3 more episodes to go.
Right.
So it's not much of a cliffhanger.
The old needless cliffhanger.
Right. It's like, man, so basically this episode didn't matter. The fetch quest didn't matter. The train thing didn't matter. None of this matters. We're still right where we were before. So how are they going to get home? Again, my suspicion is that either the whole scene on the train was a stage mind manipulation of Loki, or when he produced a broken temp pad, it wasn't really broken. He just showed her what she needed to see, and it's still something is up with this. I just can't imagine the TVA is just going to ride in and rescue him.
I could see that.
I could see that happening. Yeah, just that's their way out. And then it was really useless.
Speaking of Deus Ex Machinas, right?
And that's why I say if they'd have injected some part of that in this episode, then it would make sense. But yeah, that's got to be what happens. They gotta. I would imagine they get them because they can't, like you said, they can't stay on the moon, and there's no way off of it. So I think they grab them, and then next, they're facing their crimes, and then they both are convicted as the same person. Both of them start bickering at each other again, know.
But I mean, remember what they said, that the TVA they're not aware of what's going on in these. As long as you're acting close to an apocalypse event, they can't track what's going on. So they'd have to really backtrack that as well.
Well, I mean, Mobius would know to find them at the apocalypse events, I guess, right? So that's maybe how they would be able to locate them.
Yeah, that's possible as well. Yeah, they
Yeah.
could just be, jumping around from different apocalypse events.
Yeah, I mean that'd be really tough, but yeah.
I
Who
mean,
knows?
while they're running around trying to stop reset charges, which I really wanted to see where that went.
I'm with you.
That was the more intriguing of the two instead of worrying about their relationship.
I agree.
Yeah.
To me.
The beginning half started off great. Like you said, her messing with CB40's soldier chick's mind and how she gets to all that. Like that really was the cool part. And then for them to just kind of I guess flub the style of the show towards the end like that, I just like, oh man. Now I don't really, that's the problem with this third episode. Like I don't care where it goes now as much because it ended so abruptly that they weren't even like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna die. Like it wasn't even that. It just one chick just walked off, the dude just stood there. And I was like, I felt no ending doom.
Credits.
Yeah, just boom, off.
I don't care. They could have both sit there looking aghast, like, oh my god, we're both gonna die, and I still would have no sense of impending doom because we're only on episode 3 of a season.
That's true.
Early to pull the whole one of these people might die thing.
Yeah.
One of these people might not survive.
Gotta do it. I
That's
did
right.
some reading just to see where this moon, where Lamentus is in the Marvel universe, and it turns out it's just it is destroyed by the moon, but it's in Kree space.
I was about to say it is a Kree joint, right?
Yeah, and I was like, man, that would be cool. You could have had like Ronan or someone like that kind of come in and say, you can't get on the ship, and then they deal with that dude, and then get on the ship or something.
And then the Guardians come through and they do a little dance, make a little love.
That'd have been the dream. I would have cheered.
Oh, really?
I would have cheered if that would have happened.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Rocky put Rocky in anything. I'd have cheered, but I just say that would have helped put a little extra spice. And that's all that this episode needed, just a little bit extra spice.
A little lanyard.
Needed a lot more than that.
A lot more spice.
It needed to make somewhat sense.
Sugar.
Yeah, I mean,
Layers.
to have two people talking about nothing to do with anything that's actually going on. I mean, to at no point in time have Loki turn this woman and say, so you from Asgard? How are you a woman if you're me? And there's one timeline, and why do we look different? Nothing.
Have you met the other variants
Right.
before?
Like, she clearly doesn't know that much about the TVA, as you could tell. Like when she was in TVA headquarters, she tries to enchant a guy, and then shoot, that didn't work because she didn't realize her powers didn't work there. So she's never been processed, like kind of like Loki was. He found out within moments of arriving there how this place worked out. Right? She didn't know. So what's with the grudge? Like, why is she so mad?
I think she's just mad in general. She's just a mad chick.
Well,
I'm just curious why she's never snuck into the TVA before, not to know that. With all her ability to travel around, I figure she would have snuck in someplace and did some reconnaissance.
to know so much about reset charges and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Or
again,
where to find the groups that she's been ambushing. There's a lot of malice for for no knowledge. She seems like somebody that was very prepared, and then just to make a big oof like that right as you're right to where you've been working for however long. Oh, my powers don't work here. I don't know. It didn't make a lot of sense. It'd be like if Cap forgot his shield on the coffee table or something.
Oh.
It's like that equivalent.
No, it'd be like if he brought his shield and everybody had arms like the Winter Soldier that could catch it.
and what was
Yeah, I
she,
forgot. Yeah.
what was she planning to do when she got to these omnipotent time creatures? Like, how was she planning to kill them? Like,
Yeah.
what did she even know about them to know how to, like, what was the end game there? That, I don't even, again, Loki never asked what the plan was.
Well, that whole thing was crazy because she, like you said, she gets to the door. She didn't even try. Like there was really no obstacle. She beat everybody up to get to it. And there was the judge and everything that was like, don't go any further. And that's when she froze. It's like, no, your door is right there. You get to win. Go past the door. Get in charge, blow it up. You can do
Oh,
it.
did she freeze or did Loki do something before she could do anything?
Well, she grabbed Loki and she held a knife to his throat.
Yeah.
Take one step closer and I'll kill him. And
Yeah.
they're like, go ahead.
Go ahead, yeah.
We don't care.
Right.
And then before she could really do anything, Loki operated.
Oh, he did a little temp pad.
He
Yeah.
grabbed the
Send
tip
him out of
pad
there.
and poof.
So I didn't really have a problem with that so much. I mean, Loki was preventing her from getting on the elevator. They got into a fight. They were ambushed. She thought for whatever reason, that Loki meant something enough to them to not, maybe because he was wearing a jacket, like
That's
he's
what
working with them.
That's what I figured. He had the cool jacket.
Right. So then maybe she's like, well, he's one of y'all now. He's working with y'all, so y'all care. No, we don't. Kill him. And
They
that,
should kill them both.
yeah, that's,
Mhm.
that's what I liked about it. I like the whole thing. Man, that woman, that Lady Loki, that Sylvie woman, man, she was disintegrating people like crazy.
That's what I'm
on
like.
that fight.
I'm like,
Yeah, that was awesome.
yeah, she's popping off the wall, clipping people. Like I enjoyed that. That's why I was rooting for her to get to the thing. You know, I was like, we'll see another level. But
It kind of makes you feel bad for all those variant people who were just like kidnapped and brainwashed and reprogrammed and had their minds screwed with.
I don't know what
now-
fish is.
Right, don't know what a fish is. Owen Wilson's still
Jet
wondering
skis.
what a jet ski is. Turns out they all had former lives that have been taken from them. And yeah, it's like, so now you got to feel bad for these people who just got disintegrated because they were forced into a job that they never wanted to have anything to do with.
That sounds like my life.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
That sucks. Definitely.
that's a good way.
So, yeah, I think that's a great way to end it. If I was just wanted to say, see what you guys think. Out of all the third episodes, and we've been doing these reviews for a lot of these Disney Plus shows, Mandalorian, WandaVision, Winter Soldier. We get to this third episode. For me, I feel like, because I mean, usually we talk about in a lot past reviews, it's like the third episode. All right, now it kind of picks up. This one, I felt like didn't do that. The same as the other third episodes in those other series.
I felt like WandaVision picked up on 3. I felt Winter Soldier and Falcon.
Falcon.
Falcon with a soldier.
Falcon
Yeah.
Winter Soldier, however. I felt it took a step back on the third episode.
Okay.
I remember, like, we all talking like, "Hey, who wants to cover the third episode?"
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you're right. You're
Hey,
right.
we were like, maybe we combine 3 and 4. You know, there wasn't really anything to talk about in 3, and it turns out we're right back here again.
Yes,
So
it's
we were-
interesting.
we went from 9.5s and 10s to like 6s and 7s, and that's never a good drop off.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, hopefully,
yeah.
the next. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say Mandalorian did pick up on 3.
Mhm.
WandaVision picked up on 3, but yeah, I
Yes.
felt like Cap and I keep wanting to say Cap because he's Cap.
he's
now.
capped now, but Falcon and Winter
Cap
Soldier.
Falcon.
Falcap.
All the Falcon
All the
cap,
Falcap.
Capkin.
Calpkin.
all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I kind of felt like that was the only one that I can think of besides the show that really kind of took a step backwards.
Yeah, I would say Falcon Winter Soldier got stagnant in the third episode. But that was like straight action, and then they just kind of halted it. This was a different kind of style. So I mean, like this one I'd say was a better third episode than Falcon and Winter Soldier. Yeah, but it's
Okay.
only because of tone that makes any sense. As Falcon and Winter Soldier was painted to be like an adrenaline rush kind of show. I mean, when that episode started, people were flying in and out of canyons and stuff. I'm sorry, you can't top that as far as I'm concerned. But when you got to the third episode, that dropped off. WandaVision for that third episode, you had to really love and stick through it to get to that. And then yes, once it got to that third episode, boom, it launched. But I know a few people that had they not had to like we will review these shows, but I know people that didn't get them enough to get to that third episode. Loki, on the other hand, that ended on the second one. I literally ran into a guy at work today that was like, "Oh yeah, I got to see what happens," because he ran through that door. And that's what people remember. So they set that up so well that everybody wants to know what goes on the third episode. So that's like the hedge that puts it over as far as like best third episode, like best of the worst, if you will.
Well,
Best
yeah,
of the worst. Interesting.
first two in like yeah, you find out the variant they're tracking is a variant Loki, and it's like, whoa, that's really cool. Second one, he goes through a door. Whoa, where's that going to go? Third one, you're like, I gotta wonder more about how the hell they're gonna off this planet. That was what you wanted me to wonder about for the last 30 minutes. I gotta wonder about it until next week.
Again.
Get out of here.
With your invisible
What's wrong with you?
Get out.
out.
That's right. So, guys, that's what we thought about this episode. So make sure that you leave your thoughts about this episode down below in the comments. We'd love to hear what you think about it. Did you agree with some of the things we said? Do you have a different take that we didn't really consider? I'd be curious to know, okay? Well, after you leave that comment down below, be sure to hit like and subscribe and that little notification bell so that you can get notified every time we release a new video, and you can get a lot more of our wonderful content, including next week's episode of Loki. I guess Loki 4. We'll call that Loki 4.
Mm-hmm.
So, guys, on behalf of Danny, Eli, Alan, and myself, thank you for watching. Magic out.